Welcome to Payback with Silas. Every day, a new story, lies, betrayal, payback. Let's begin.
He's more successful than you. I'm done pretending. Don't call me. That's the message my wife of 12 years sent me at 8:13 p.m. from her business trip to Phoenix. Right after dinner. 12 years, dismantled in a 14-word text. She left me for her boss, Harlan Everett, a tech startup CEO with designer stubble and a master's degree in narcissism. Apparently, success now meant stock options and rented Teslas. Not loyalty. Not building a life together. Not the man who stood by her when her father died. Or when she was laid off in 2020 and couldn't leave the bed for 2 months. None of that mattered now. She ended her message with, "Oh, I moved all our money into my account. Please don't make this harder." I stared at the screen and smiled. See, what Vivian didn't know was that I had been preparing for this for over a year. Not because I knew she'd betray me, but because I sensed it. The late nights, the cold distance, the business trips that always ended with her showering before coming home. She thought I didn't notice. She thought I was passive, weak, naive. She forgot one thing. I'm not the kind of man who explodes. I'm the kind who plans. 12 months ago, I started paying attention. Subtle things. Passwords. Statements. Phone calls she didn't mean for me to hear. And when the truth became undeniable, I didn't confront her. I adapted. First, I created a holding account under an LLC I opened in Montana. Untraceable to her. Quiet. Legal. Then I liquidated half of our joint investments. Slowly. Carefully. Replaced them with worthless securities. Ones she didn't even understand. She never looked closely. She was too busy. Working late. By the time she sent that message, she hadn't stolen our money. She'd stolen her illusion of power. Because the real money? It was already gone. Mine. Protected. That night I didn't drink. I didn't rage. I just closed the message, turned off my phone, and went to sleep. Because for the first time in months, I was at peace. She thought she'd won. But the game had only just begun. Most people crack when they're betrayed. They spiral. Get drunk. Call friends. Argue. Beg. Break down. I went for a run. It was just past 6 a.m. Rain over Santa Rosa Avenue, soft and steady. I ran 5 miles in silence, thinking only of 2 people. Vivian Hadley, my soon-to-be ex-wife. And Harlan Everett, the man she left me for. I knew his name long before she admitted it. She never told me about him, but his name slipped out too often. Harlan says the market's about to shift. Harlan's flying out to Berlin next month. Harlan thinks I should take more initiative. Harlan. 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 I did my homework. CEO of a flashy AI analytics firm based in Palo Alto. Charismatic, insufferable, and absolutely drowning in angel investment money. Single, of course. Divorced 3 years ago. Rumor was he liked sleeping with his employees. But always just one at a time. Now it was Vivian. I suppose congratulations are in order. They met in Chicago. Some 3-day investor summit at the Langham. He was speaking. She was assisting. I remember the night. She came home glowing. Said it was transformational. I thought she meant the keynote speech. No. She meant the man who gave it. The funny thing is, I don't blame him. Predators do what they do. Vivian, though. She made a vow. She wore a ring. She looked me in the eye and promised a forever. That's what made this next part so satisfying. 2 days after the message, I got a call. It was my banker, a friend, really. Someone I've known since college. He said, "You were right to move when you did." Vivian had tried to initiate a transfer. Over $470,000. But the account had been frozen by a fraud alert, one I set up months ago. She called the bank 6 times that day. I heard the recordings later. She screamed, pleaded, threatened legal action. But she couldn't touch a dime. That wasn't just luck. I built this net with patience and surgical precision. Every dollar she thought was hers had been stripped of liquidity. Frozen. Flagged. The brokerage accounts? Moved. The savings? Cashed out and converted into private equity assets held under that Montana LLC. The 401k? Split into 3 separate vehicles with staggered penalties, legally inaccessible without my consent. By the time she'd realized it, she was standing in front of an ATM in Scottsdale, Arizona, watching it spit out. Transaction declined. That night she called me. I didn't answer. She texted, "I don't know what you've done, but we need to talk." I responded with one line. "We talked. You chose Harlan." Then I blocked her. I wasn't being petty. I was being thorough. She made her choice. Now she could learn what it meant to stand on it. Harlan's company, Everett Labs, looked shiny from the outside. Slick branding. Trendy buzzwords. Disruptive AI integrations. But the numbers didn't lie. Their Series C round had closed just months ago. But they were bleeding cash. And I had access to a few internal documents. Why? Because one of their junior engineers, Devin, was a cousin of a friend. Smart kid. Ambitious. I offered him a consulting contract through my own firm. All legal. All above board. He didn't even know the full reason. But I learned everything I needed to. They had 6 months of runway left. Harlan was betting the whole company on a government contract they hadn't secured yet. And the second largest investor had already pulled out. You see where this is going? I didn't take them down. I didn't leak anything. I just nudged. I contacted an old acquaintance, a venture analyst at Redwood Capital. I knew he'd be interested in what I had. I handed him data. Public filings. Inconsistencies. Risk exposure. He verified everything. Then published a piece on Tech Harbor Weekly. Everett Labs, brilliant disruption or burning mirage? 2 days later, 2 more investors paused funding. And Harlan? He posted a video response from his office, trying to do damage control. His hands were shaking. Vivian? She was nowhere in the frame. I sat back, poured myself a bourbon, and watched the views climb. This wasn't revenge. This was erosion. Slow. Inevitable. Merciless. The truth is, I didn't care about humiliating her publicly. I didn't even want her back. I just wanted her to feel it. That sinking realization that she bet everything on the wrong man. And the best part? I hadn't even gotten started yet. She came back on a Sunday. Not with fanfare. Not with an apology. Just quietly. As if this was still her house. I heard the garage door open first. She must have forgotten I changed the code. Then the sound of her key not working in the front lock. A soft, metallic click, and nothing. She stood outside for a while. Long enough for me to watch her from the kitchen window. Same heels. Same coat. Same suitcase I bought her on our 10th anniversary. Funny how betrayal travels light. Eventually, she rang the doorbell. I waited 7 full seconds before opening the door. "Hi," she said. Her voice was careful. Too soft, too level, like she'd practiced it in the rental car mirror. I stepped aside. "You've got 5 minutes." She walked in slowly. Looked around. Same furniture, but the energy had changed. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was observing. She sat at the dining table. She began. "I don't even know where to start." I said nothing. She blinked. That old habit of hers when she was nervous. It used to melt me. Now it meant nothing. "Things with Harlan aren't what I thought. I made a mistake." I leaned on the kitchen counter. "A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. You set fire to 12 years. Her face broke for a moment, not crying, just the first crack in the mask. "I didn't come to argue," she said. "I came to talk. And I want to understand what happened with the accounts. The money. You can't just." I held up a hand. Calmly. Slowly. "I didn't do anything just. Everything I did because." Her mouth opened to respond, but I cut her off. "You wanted a life without me. Now you have it. But it wasn't supposed to be like this." "No. It was supposed to be worse." Silence. "I didn't come back to beg," she finally said. I nodded. "Good. Because I'm not a priest and this isn't a confessional." She looked down. Saw the single place setting at the table. Steak, grilled asparagus, a glass of red wine. "For me?" she asked, like it was a peace offering. I smiled. "No. For me." Then I walked over. Saturday. Cut a piece of steak. Took a bite. She watched me eat. I didn't invite her to sit. I didn't offer her a drink. This was my home now. She was a guest, barely that. "I came back because I thought maybe there was something left between us," she whispered. "There is," I said, standing up. "Distance." I walked her to the door. She hesitated in the doorway, trying one last time to re-enter a life she no longer belonged to. "I loved you," she said. "No," I corrected her. "You loved what I gave you. You just never thought I'd take it back." Then I shut the door. And for the first time since she left, the house was finally quiet. A week after she showed up at my door, I heard from her again. Not directly, through a friend. Megan again. She sent a simple message. "You were right. She's not okay. He's not who she thought he was." Of course he wasn't. Harlan Everett was a mirage. Everything about him, the charisma, the tailored suits, the high-rise views of Palo Alto, it was all borrowed time. I didn't have to destroy him. I just had to let gravity do what it does best. I knew his company was on the edge. After the Tech Harbor article, 2 more venture partners pulled out. A third, the largest, demanded a formal audit of the company's valuation. And with that, the floodgates opened. Investors hate uncertainty. Worse than lies. Worse than failure. Uncertainty is like rot in the foundation, it spreads before anyone sees it. Within 2 weeks, Everett Labs went from disruptive innovation to high-risk asset. Harlan tried to go on the offensive. Posted daily videos. Quotes from Forbes. Even booked an interview on a local Bay Area startup podcast. But his voice was tighter. His smiles didn't reach his eyes anymore. Behind the curtain, I was still watching. Carefully. Silently. Deliberately. Vivian, meanwhile, was unraveling. According to Megan, Harlan stopped bringing her to meetings. Said she was a distraction. She was staying in some overpriced hotel in Cupertino, trying to act like she was still someone important. But the shine was fading. Fast. She'd left a marriage built on loyalty for a man who loved mirrors. And now the mirror was cracking. But here's where things got interesting. She started reaching out to my contacts. Mutual friends. A couple of people from our social circle. She was fishing. Trying to find someone who'd soften me. Reopen a door. That's when I knew it was time for the final phase. You see, this was never about revenge. Not really. It was about reputation. About legacy. I built my name slowly. Brick by brick. I owned 2 companies. One in logistics, one in procurement software. Not sexy industries, but they pay. They last. And I decided it was time to make that known. I reached out to an old client, a former Navy officer who now runs a defense contract firm out of Virginia. He'd been wanting to partner with me for years. I'd always declined. Timing wasn't right. Now it was. We signed a deal. A real one. Multi-year. 7 figures. His team even asked to do a small press release. I said yes. It dropped on a Monday. The headline? Sawyer Alden's firm lands federal contract with Sentinel Defense Systems. It spread fast in the right circles. Within 24 hours, I had 3 new clients calling, 2 podcast invites, and amusingly, a LinkedIn connection request from Harlan. I didn't accept. But I read his bio. He'd updated it. No mention of Everett Labs. Just tech entrepreneur. Always building. Translation. Company dead. Ego barely breathing. I heard from Megan again. She sent me a voice memo. Vivian crying in the background. He said he's restructuring. He doesn't want me around during this phase. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I listened to it twice. Then I deleted it. And went to the gym. You see, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even satisfied. I was free. And they? They were drowning in the weight of their own decisions. She came back again. Only this time, she didn't bother with charm. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was home early, reviewing vendor contracts in the office, when I heard a knock. Not the front door, the side one. The one that opens into the garden, where she used to drink wine on Sundays. I opened the blinds. There she was. Vivian Hadley. Once the woman who shared my life. Now a silhouette of regret. I opened the door slowly. Didn't say a word. She didn't ask to come in. Just stood there, arms crossed, trying to look composed. But her mascara told the truth. You look good, she said eventually. I didn't respond. I saw the article. The Sentinel deal. That's huge. Still nothing. She exhaled and looked down. I'm not here to make excuses. You probably think I deserve everything that's happened. I tilted my head. You don't need me to think it. You're already living it. That hit harder than I expected. Her face flinched. I made the wrong choice, she said quietly. I know that now. Which part? I asked. The man or the money? She didn't answer. I waited. Let the silence grow thick. Finally, she said it. I lost my apartment. Harlan's completely ghosted me. I have nothing, Sawyer. Sawyer. She only ever used my full name when she was desperate. Or cornered. I can't go to my parents. They still think I'm in Arizona working for a startup. My sister won't talk to me after I borrowed money. She looked up at me, voice trembling. I'm not asking to come back. I need help. A little money. A bridge, maybe. Just until I figure things out. She meant it. She wasn't lying. For the first time in years, she wasn't acting. And still, I felt nothing. I'd imagined this moment so many times. What I'd say. How I'd say it. Would I be cruel? Would I enjoy it? But the truth was simpler. Vivian, I said calmly. I don't hate you. That made her eyes well up instantly. She stepped forward, hopeful. But I also don't owe you. She froze. You didn't just break vows. I continued. You bet against me. And you lost. You weren't wrong about Harlan being successful. For a moment, he was. But you never asked yourself what kind of man burns everything around him just to feel warm. She covered her mouth. One hand trembling. You left a life we built, I said. For the idea of something better. That's your right. But this, I gestured to the space between us, is no longer yours. She nodded slowly. The tears came freely now. I'm not angry, I said. I just don't trade in nostalgia. That currency's worthless. And then I handed her something. A white envelope. She took it like it might burn her fingers. Inside? A check. Not for thousands. Not for rent. Just $147.52, the exact amount of the hotel minibar charges I found on our last shared statement. You stole this, I said. Now it's paid. She looked at it, stunned. I won't sue you, I added. I won't shame you. I won't even mention your name again. This is the end. Her voice was barely above a whisper. You really loved me once. I did, I said. And I buried that man the day you chose someone else. Then I shut the door. No slam. No anger. Just finality. Behind it, I stood for a long time. Not out of regret, but out of peace. There's a kind of silence that only comes when the past is finally done asking for second chances. And that silence was beautiful. For months, my life had been orbiting around her absence. At first, it was about what she did. Then it became about what I'd do in response. But after that last knock on the door, everything went still. And in the stillness, I remembered something I hadn't in years. Who I was before her. The truth is, Vivian didn't steal my life. I gave it to her, piece by piece, while calling it love. I changed the way I dressed. The restaurants I liked. The vacations I agreed to. Little compromises at first. Then big ones. And when she left, it wasn't just betrayal. It was exposure. I had no idea who I was without her. So I started finding out. The house felt different now. Bigger. Quieter. Not empty, just mine. I cleaned out the bedroom. Not with rage, not with sadness. Just intention. Boxed her clothes. Donated what I could. Tossed the rest. I repainted the walls, a deep slate blue. Bought a new bed firmer. Switched to linen sheets. No more gold accents or floral candles. Then I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I booked a solo trip. Montana. Fly fishing lodge near Flathead Lake. Middle of nowhere. Spotty Wi-Fi. Quiet as snow. The first night there, I sat by a fire with 3 strangers. One was a retired firefighter from Maine. Another, a recently divorced woman from Phoenix. The third guy had just sold a chain of tire shops and was traveling the country with a motorcycle and no plan. No one knew me as Vivian's husband. No one cared who I used to be. It was liberating. We shared whiskey. Laughed about nothing. No filtered photos. No curated conversations. Just people. Just presence. When I got back to California, I kept the rhythm. I took early morning walks through Edgewood Park. Read more. Said less. Cooked for myself. I met someone new at a bookshop in Redwood City. Her name was Corinne. She had eyes like storms and asked real questions. We didn't date. Not right away. We just talked. For weeks. Over coffee. Over silence. Over shared pages. She never once asked about my past. And when I finally told her, she didn't flinch. Just nodded and said, "Then you've already done the hard part. You stayed kind." Kind. That hit harder than any revenge. I'd been smart. Strategic. Controlled. But kind? I wasn't sure I'd earned that. But maybe surviving with dignity is kindness. To yourself? Because in the end, it wasn't about making Vivian suffer. It was about making sure I didn't disappear trying to become the kind of man she wanted. I'd built something from the ashes. And this time, it belonged to me. It's been 14 months since she left. The first 6 were a storm. The next 6 were a rebuild. The last 2? A calm I never thought I'd know again. I wake up early now. Not because I have to, because I want to. There's something sacred about mornings before the world starts demanding things. Coffee tastes better when it's earned in silence. The companies are doing better than ever. The Sentinel contract turned into 2 more. And a quiet buyout offer landed on my desk last week. 8 figures. All cash. I'm not ready to sell yet, but it felt good to say, "Let's talk again in a year." Success isn't loud. Not real success. It doesn't beg for attention, it just is. I see Corinne now, regularly. It's slow, patient, and without pretense. We talk about music, about books, about the oddity of modern dating. She still hasn't asked about Vivian. And I still haven't told her the whole story. Because some ghosts don't need closure. They just need distance. Vivian tried to contact me again 2 months ago. Email this time. No subject line. Just a few lines. I saw your interview. You look at peace. I hope you are. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. That chapter ended. The ashes scattered. And there's no reason to rebuild what was always meant to fall. I've started mentoring young entrepreneurs now. Not for money, for meaning. Guys in their 20s who remind me of myself before the suits, before the Skyline office, before the heartbreak. I tell them what no one told me. Know who you are before you give anyone the right to change you. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. Not the contracts, not the numbers, not the perfectly optimized routines. But the truth. That dignity isn't given, it's guarded. That revenge is cheap, but freedom? Freedom is priceless. One of the young guys I mentor asked me the other day, "What would you do if you saw her again?" I smiled. Took a sip of coffee. "Nothing," I said. "She's not in the room anymore. Just the shadow I used to stand in." He nodded. Didn't ask again. You see, there are two kinds of power. One is loud. It brags. It flashes cars, counts likes, posts photos with women who know nothing about your soul. The other is quiet. It builds. It forgives. It remembers, but it never returns. That's the kind I chose. And that's the kind that lasts.